Good afternoon, Mr. Watkins.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right, is this your client, Mr. Varner?
Yes, he is my client.
All right, and
I
then
have another client with me. Which one would you like to?
you have Ms. Dimas Montes with you?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, do you need a breakout room opportunity with Mr. Varner?
No, we've been speaking.
All right, the court is calling the case of the City of Kentwood versus Reed Cadwell Varner, case number 21-501870M. Mr. Varner, can you unmute yourself, please? You'll need to unmute. We'll give Mr. Varner a minute. Sir, on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, there should be a microphone button. And if you click it, you should unmute. There you go.
There.
All right. You are Reed Varner?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Varner appears with his attorney, Mr. Daniel Watkins, this afternoon. This matter was set for a plea. Mr. Varner is charged with having an open container of alcohol in his vehicle, open intox. And the recommendation from the city, the plea bargain, if you will, is as charged, no jail, no objection to no probation or non-reporting probation. Is that correct, Mr. Watkins?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right, and did you discuss that with your client?
I have, and he has indicated he wishes to take advantage of that plea offer and enter a plea of guilty to as charged today.
All right, sir, the open container charge is punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a fine of up to $100. Your attorney indicates that you intend to plead guilty as charged today in order to take advantage of the bargain being extended by the state. Is that correct?
Correct.
And did you discuss your rights as well as your right to a trial with Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
If you tender a plea today and the court accepts it, there will not be a trial of any kind. Do you understand?
Yes.
Did anyone threaten you or make you any promises above and beyond the plea bargain to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Then as to the offense of having an open container in your vehicle, sir, how do you plead?
Guilty.
All right, I will take you back to March 19th of this year. Do you recall that date? Were you in a vehicle in the city of Kentwood?
Yes.
And at that time, did you have an open 24-ounce Budweiser in the center console of your car?
Yes.
All right, I do find there's a sufficient factual basis to accept your guilty plea. Any objection to proceeding to sentencing now, Mr. Watkins?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, I'll hear your allocution.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Varner actually resides on the east side of the state. The resident that is listed on the ticket is a home that he does own, but he does not live there, and he was in town doing some repair work on that home. He has stayed out of trouble for at least 20 years. He may have a drinking offense back then. He has some health issues, lymphoma, and he's gone through some chemotherapy and has had a stroke, and he just kind of got a little too relaxed with understanding of when he could have an adult beverage. And Your Honor, he is not someone that I think needs really any more supervision than what he's had here, in that he recognizes he cannot do that. And I think that he will be, if Your Honor does want to impose probation, we'd ask that it be a non-reporting, again, as he does not reside in Kentwood or Grand Rapids area. I think that he would be a model probationer if Your Honor feels that's necessary.
Mr. Varner,
Yes.
what were you doing with an open can of Budweiser in your car?
It was stupid.
Is there anything else that you would like this court to consider before I impose sentence?
No.
All right, I do see that there is an operating while impaired charge from 2003. But I don't see anything else in the way of a criminal history, sir.
No.
The law presumes that for an offense of this kind in this situation, an acceptable sentence can be fashioned from fines, costs, and community service. But given there's alcohol included in the elements of this offense, you could also be sentenced to a substance abuse assessment. And so I think that's what this court will do, sir. Because sentencing is trifold, there's, of course, the punitive element, which is the punishment you get for breaking the law. And there is a restorative element, but nobody's claiming any restitution here, and a rehabilitative element. I think that it would be probably, you say it's stupid, you know it's stupid, but it might not be a bad idea for you to get a better understanding of your relationship to alcohol. So I am going to place you on probation with this court. It will be a period of 8 months. I recognize you don't live here, sir. And so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you obtain a substance abuse screening from a location near you, right? So talk with your probation officer to make sure that it is an acceptable location and do your screening there. Submit it to the probation officer. Pay any fee that's required. Stay out of trouble. Probation can get longer or shorter based on how well you do on it. And I'm not imposing a great number of prohibitions on you. In addition to the substance abuse assessment that I am ordering for your benefit, you must not violate the laws of any city, state, or federal government. You may not leave the state of Michigan without the court's permission. You'll make a truthful report to your probation officer monthly or more often as they require. And so for that report, sir, you can do it either through Zoom or phone. I know that they are allowing that, and so I will allow that in this instance. And you are to notify your probation officer immediately of any change in address or employment status. I'm not going to require you to come here to do any kind of drug drops, but I think that obtaining a substance abuse assessment and completing or continuing any counseling that the probation department determines is appropriate is an adequate sentence in this matter. I'm also not sentencing you to any community service. You'll pay fines and costs. I'll total those now. Mr. Watkins, you are retained on this, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fines and costs total $325. That is the final sentence of the court. If you disagree with this court's decision, you may appeal it to the circuit court. You have 21 days to do so. Request for court-appointed counsel must be made within 14 days. I'm going to place you in a breakout room, Mr. Varner, with a cashier so that you can make payment or payment arrangements.
So Your Honor, he is required to report to probation
I am going to have him, I'm going to have somebody from probation reach out to him. Reporting will be by phone or by Zoom, but he is to obtain a substance abuse assessment or any counseling that they require. I'm not going to require him to travel here and come do drops, but he is to report.
Report. Okay. Right. Well, thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. Again, no objection to him reporting via Zoom or via phone because of his location. All right, so I'm going to place you with my cashier right now. All right, and then I have that Ms. Dimas Montez requires a Spanish interpreter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll do that now. Mr. Varner, yep, watch your screen. There'll be an invitation to join a breakout room with my cashier. Sir, what matter are you here on? Is that you? Oh, are you Mr. Genrich? All right, we've got a couple other matters we need to take care of first.
Welcome to Language Line Solutions. Please enter your 6-digit client ID. For Spanish, press 1. For Auto, press 2. Please enter access code followed by the pound sign.
Find the breakout room.
Please hold for an interpreter.
All right, the language line still says active and connected, but we lost the hold music. Give it another minute to see if somebody joins us. All right, we'll try a second time.
Welcome to Language Line Solutions. Please enter your 6-digit client ID. For Spanish, press 1. For Auto, please enter access code followed by the pound sign. Please hold for an interpreter.
Thank you for calling Language Line Solutions. This is Carlos, 218894. I'll be your Spanish interpreter. The interpreter is ready. Is your client with you?
Hi, Carlos. The client is here. Her name is Erica Dimas Montes. This is Judge Sterkenburg with the 62B District Court. Ms. Dimas Montes will be entering a plea today. Are you able to assist?
I'll be happy to assist, yes.
All right, before we proceed, I'll need to swear you in. And so do you swear or affirm that you will impartially interpret the matter now before the court and not divulge confidential communications? So help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. This is the case of the City of Kentwood versus Erica Dimas Montes, case number 21-501590T. Ms. Dimas appears with her attorney, Mr. Daniel Watkins. Interpreter, you can introduce yourself as well.
Should the interpreter relay your introduction?
Ms. Dimas Montes, can you hear the interpreter?
Yes.
Señora Erika Dimas Sánchez, le habla el intérprete de español. ¿Sí me escucha?
Sí.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Dimas Montes is charged with driving while unlicensed,
Se le imputa un cargo en su contra, señora Dina Sánchez, por ir conduciendo sin una licencia.
that is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 90 days in jail.
Este es un delito que trae una sanción conocido de 90 días en la cárcel y es un delito menor.
There is also a civil infraction here for failing to yield right of way.
También existe aquí una infracción de tipo civil debido a que al conducir no se dio el paso,
which carries with it fines.
lo cual trae consigo una multa.
The city of Kentwood has offered a plea bargain
La ciudad de Cancún ha puesto a su alcance una propuesta de declaración.
if Ms. Dimas Martez pleads guilty as charged to driving while unlicensed, they will reduce the impeding traffic, or they will reduce the fail to yield to a lesser infraction of impeding traffic.
Si la señora Dimas se declara culpable ante el cargo que tiene en su contra por ir conduciendo un vehículo sin licencia de manejo, al declararse culpable, entonces se le va a reducir su delito de no ceder el paso a un delito todavía menor, que es por impedir el flujo vehicular.
Mr. Watkins, did I accurately recite the plea bargain?
Se le pregunta al abogado de la señora Dimas, el abogado señor Watkins, si su señoría fuerza ha citado de manera correcta la propuesta de declaración.
Yes, you have, Your Honor.
And is it your client's intention to accept that offer today?
La respuesta del abogado es si su señoría fue citado correctamente. Su señoría, la señora jueza, pregunta si es su intención y deseo aceptar esta propuesta declaratoria el día de hoy.
It is, Your Honor.
La respuesta es sí, su señoría.
Ms. Dimas Montes, if you tender a plea today and the court accepts it, there will not be a trial of any kind. Do you understand?
Can the interpreter request a repetition, Your Honor?
I asked the defendant if she understands that if I accept her plea, there will not be a trial of any kind.
Thank you. Señora Dimas Montes, quiero decirle que si usted comprende que al aceptar esta declaración de culpable ya no va a haber un juicio. ¿Comprende usted?
Sí.
Yes.
And is it your voluntary choice to give up your right to a trial in order to take advantage of the plea bargain?
Y usted está tomando esta decisión de su propia voluntad en ceder su derecho a un juicio para poder aprovechar la propuesta declaratoria que se le está presentando.
Sí.
Yes.
Did anyone threaten you or make you any promises beyond the plea bargain to get you to plead guilty?
¿Hay alguna persona que le haya hecho alguna amenaza o alguna promesa más grande que la propuesta declaratoria que se le acaba de presentar para que usted se quisiera declarar? No.
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 All right. Ma'am, as to the offense of driving while unlicensed, how do you plead?
Señora Dimas, ante el cargo en contra suyo por ir conduciendo sin licencia de manejo, ¿cómo se declara?
Culpable.
Guilty.
And as to the offense of impeding traffic, how do you plead?
¿Cómo se declara usted ante el delito de impedir el flujo vehicular?
Culpable.
Guilty.
All right, were you driving a vehicle in the city of Kentwood, County of Kent, back on March 10th of this year?
Sí.
I'm very sorry, Your Honor. You were out. The interpreter connects you the question.
Ms. Dimas Martez,
The defendant did answer.
she did hear the question, she did answer, so we'll move forward.
Thank you.
Ma'am, on that date, did you have a valid Michigan driver's license?
No.
No.
Did you have any driver's license?
No.
Tell me about what happened with this failure to yield or impeding traffic. How did you get pulled over?
Cuéntame acerca de su falta al no ceder el paso vehicular o obstaculizar el flujo vehicular. ¿Cómo fue que la detuvieron?
Yo iba por la calle 32 y al llegar a la Breton estaba la carretera cerrada.
I was driving on 32nd Street and by Breton, I could see that the road was closed.
Entonces, como vi que todos iban al lado izquierdo porque la 32 para arriba estaba cerrada,
Then I could see that everybody else was making a left. They were going to the left because after all, 32nd Street was closed.
entonces pues me fui atrás de los vehículos, pero no me percaté en ningún momento que venía un vehículo del otro lado de la carretera. Pensé que estaba cerrado también.
So basically, I just kept driving behind the other cars, and I never saw any other vehicle coming in the opposite direction of the road, because I thought that side of the road was also closed.
Y fue cuando venía la señora del otro lado de la 32 y pues me chocó. No alcancé a terminarme de pasar, pero pues como estaba en verde, yo dije todos van para el lado izquierdo.
That's when the other lady driving down 32nd Street came in, and so we collided. I could see a green light and everybody going left, so that I just followed through. And I was not able to push the brakes then.
All right. I do find a sufficient factual basis and will accept your guilty plea on the unlicensed charge.
Encuentro hechos suficientes para poder aceptar su declaración de culpabilidad ante el cargo imputado en su contra por ir conduciendo un vehículo sin licencia de manejo.
And to the impeding traffic charge.
Y también para el cargo en su contra por obstaculizar el flujo vehicular.
Está bien.
Mr. Watkins, I'll hear your comments as they relate to sentencing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Vamos a escuchar los comentarios del abogado señor Watkins respecto a la sentencia otorgada.
It's my understanding, Your Honor, that in this accident, no one was injured.
Hasta donde comprendo, su señoría, en este incidente, ninguna persona resultó lesionada.
She did remain and cooperated with the police.
The interpreter did not understand this. Can the interpreter get a repetition of that?
She remained on the scene and cooperated with the police.
Thank you. Ella permaneció siempre en el lugar de los hechos, además de que colaboró con los oficiales de policía.
And she does not drive. She rides to work with her mom or a friend or a sister, and they work for a cleaning company.
Thank you, sorry. The voice is kind of a little bit too loud and it is distorted. Can the interpreter get a repetition of that?
She normally does not drive. She knows she cannot drive, but she drove because she was needed to work with her mother in the cleaning company and normally has a ride, but she did not have a ride.
Thank you, the interpreter. Por lo general, ella no conduce, no maneja un vehículo. Ella sabe que no puede, pero en esta ocasión lo hizo porque su presencia era necesaria para ir a trabajar en una empresa de aseo y de limpieza con la madre, con la mamá. Es por esa razón que tuvo que conducir, pero ella normalmente no conduce.
She now has a full understanding of the consequences of driving without a license.
Ahora ella cuenta con una total comprensión de las posibles consecuencias que trae consigo el conducir sin una licencia de manejo.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gracias, señoría.
Ms. Montes, is there anything you want to say to me before I sentence you?
Antes de la sentencia, señora Dimas Montes, algo que quisiera decirme.
No.
No.
All right, I'm going to sentence you to community service in this matter.
Para este asunto en cuestión, le voy a tirar a usted una sentencia de cumplir con servicio en la comunidad.
You'll do 24 hours of community service. You'll have 6 months to get that done.
Cumpliendo la cantidad de 24 horas de servicio comunitario y se le va a otorgar 6 meses de plazo para poder completar las 24 horas.
Someone from our probation department will reach out to you.
Una persona de nuestro departamento de libertad privada se pondrá en contacto con usted.
Once you get the referral to community service, you have 2 business days to get registered to do it.
Una vez que usted reciba la autorización para los servicios comunitarios, usted contará con únicamente 2 días hábiles de plazo para poderse registrar y cumplir con eso.
Mr. Interpreter, I think she's going to understand me on this. Is your address 844 4th Street?
Sí.
What is your phone number?
616-329-3361.
3361?
Yes.
All right. On the unlicensed conviction, you will also pay fines that total $425. For the civil and fines and costs for the unlicensed charge are $425. For the impeding infraction, they are $240.
Thank you, Your Honor. En cuanto a la multa a pagar por conducir sin licencia, hay una multa de $425 y por el cargo en su contra de una infracción por impedir el flujo vehicular, la multa civil es de $240 de infracción.
That means you owe this court a total of $665.
Eso significa que usted le debe un total al tribunal por la suma de $665.
This is a final sentence of the court. If you disagree with it, you have 21 days to appeal it to the circuit court.
Este es el veredicto final del tribunal. Si usted no está de acuerdo con este fallo, usted puede presentar una apelación ante el circuito de segunda instancia, con un plazo de 21 días para poder presentar la apelación.
I'm going to move you into a breakout room with my cashier so you can make payment or payment arrangements.
Con la finalidad de que usted pueda hacer un convenio de pago o plan de pago, le voy a pedir que se traslade, por favor, a otra sala con nuestra cajera para que lo pueda hacer.
Do you have any questions for me?
¿Alguna pregunta que quiera hacerme?
No,
No.
Is there anything else on this matter, Mr. Watkins?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Interpreter. We appreciate your help today.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a nice day.
Yes. I see someone appearing on my screen as iPhone. Can you unmute and identify yourself for the court, please?
Your Honor, I do believe that to be my client, Mr. Demarius Cochran, Your Honor.
Am I visible now?
Yes, are you Mr. Cochran?
Oh, Mr. Cochran, looks like you're muted now. I just need to hit the red microphone. There you go.
I'm good. Yes, Your Honor, that's me.
All right, Mr. Oberholzer, do you need a breakout room with your client?
No, I just had a conversation with Mr. Cochran, Your Honor. We are ready to proceed at this time. Thank you.
All right, the court is calling the case of the City of Kentwood versus Demarius Lamont Cochran, case number 20-50167OM. You are Demarius Cochran, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Cochran appears with his attorney, Kurt Oberholzer, this afternoon. This matter is scheduled for a plea. Mr. Cochran is charged with the offense of disorderly conduct, a 90-day misdemeanor. The City of Kentwood offered a plea bargain. The information that the court received indicates that if Mr. Cochran pleads as charged to disorderly, there will be no objection to sentencing under the Holmes Youthful Trainee Act. The sentence negotiation was for 80 hours of work crew and non-reporting probation conditioned upon successful participation in probation through the 17th Circuit Court. Is that correct, Mr. Oberholzer?
That is correct, Your Honor, and that is the offer I did communicate to Mr. Cochran, Your Honor. I do believe after communicating that plea agreement with Mr. Cochran, Your Honor, he does wish to accept that offer and enter a guilty plea. I would like to state for the record, Your Honor, that Mr. Cochran and I have also discussed that if he is to enter a guilty plea with regard to that offer, I do believe he understands that he would be waiving his trial rights and not able to take the disorderly conduct charge to trial. And again, Your Honor, with that knowledge, I do believe Mr. Cochran wishes to offer a guilty plea at this time, Your Honor.
Tell me about what is happening in 17th Circuit Court, Mr. Oberholzer.
Your Honor, Mr. Cochran actually just was sentenced yesterday, I believe, before Judge Benson, Your Honor. He did receive a one-year term of probation pursuant to the Holmes Youthful Trainee Act. My understanding is that he was sentenced to community service, fines and costs, drug testing that he's to engage in. He's also to meet with his probation officer on a monthly basis, I believe. And so he is on that probation out of the 17th Circuit Court at this time, and that case has been resolved, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Cochran, did you hear the plea bargain that I read into the record and that your attorney confirmed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it your voluntary choice today to accept that offer, tender a guilty plea, and give up your rights to a trial?
Yes.
And you understand that there will not be a trial of any kind on this matter, correct?
Yes.
Did anyone threaten you or make you any promises above and beyond the plea bargain to get you plead guilty today?
Nope.
As to the offense of disorderly conduct, how do you plead?
Guilty.
All right, Mr. Oberholzer, inquire of your client to establish a factual basis.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Cochran, back on March 6, 2020, were you located within the city of Kentwood, Kent County, Michigan, specifically at the Woodland Mall?
Yes, sir.
And on that date, at that location, were you engaged in a fight at the Woodland Mall?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Your Honor, I do believe that should establish a sufficient factual basis for the purposes of taking a plea to disorderly conduct, Your Honor.
I agree with you and I will accept the guilty plea. Any objection to proceeding to sentencing at this time?
No, Your Honor, no objection to proceeding with sentencing at this time.
Then I will hear your allocution.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Well, as I just stated, Your Honor, Mr. Cochran, he was just sentenced out of 17th Circuit Court yesterday to the 1-year term of probation pursuant to the Holmes v. Training Act. He has a number of other conditions that he is required to engage in and complete as part of that probation, Your Honor. And as soon as Mr. Cochran, as soon as we have concluded these proceedings here, Mr. Cochran is planning on reaching out to his probation officer to let them know what happened here, Your Honor. So he will be planning on doing that. I believe Mr. Cochran will. But otherwise, Your Honor, just to give the court some background as to what is kind of going on in Mr. Cochran's life, he, with regard to employment, he is working hard currently to seek some employment here. He actually has one job that is pending currently. I believe he possibly will be accepting that job, and that is through Amazon. So I hope, wish Mr. Cochran the best of luck to that new job, hopefully that he will soon secure. Mr. Cochran, with regard to his schooling, Your Honor, he did receive a high school diploma. He's actually looking to enroll in Grand Valley State University in the near future here. So it seems like he has some great educational goals ahead of himself that I've encouraged him to pursue, certainly. He actually also has one child on the way. They're due to be here in about 7 to 8 months at this point. So he's going to be a new father as well. Lots of new responsibilities heading this way. And he's currently residing with his mother, Your Honor. They are set to move here soon, but they will still be residing within the Grand Rapids area. But he does have stable living conditions right now, Your Honor. Other than that, Your Honor, we would just ask the court to go along with the plea agreement, which was negotiated on behalf of Mr. Cochran, and to consider a sentence pursuant to the Holmes v. Training Act, Your Honor, and assess the work crew hours, noting that he is on the probation out of circuit court, where he is required to do a number of things for that probation, Your Honor. And lastly, Your Honor, I'd just like to point out the fact Mr. Cochran, he did serve some time in the Kent County Correctional Facility. I don't believe he was ever held on bond on this case. What he was held on was his circuit court case, Your Honor. But nonetheless, he did spend approximately 2 weeks in the Kent County Correctional Facility prior to bonding out. And I believe from Mr. Cochran's perspective, it was a miserable experience and hopefully one that really opened his eyes. And I'm hopeful this is his last time before a court, Your Honor. Mr. Cochran and I have talked about the huge second chance that the Holmes Youthful Training Act does present to him on not only this case potentially, but certainly his felony case, Your Honor. And again, I'm very confident and hopeful that Mr. Cochran will take full advantage of that second chance. And we are hopeful that this court will also sentence him pursuant to the Holmes Youthful Training Act. But anyway, Your Honor, we would just ask that the court take all that into consideration when determining an appropriate sentence for Mr. Cochran here this afternoon. And we certainly thank the court for its time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Overholzer. Mr. Cochran, do you have any comments for the court before I proceed to sentence?
I do. Your Honor, I just want to accept full responsibility for my actions and apologize for that. And to the Kentwood Woodland Mall company, just let them know I apologize for my disorderly actions, and to the victim's family and everybody, I resolved that with them also before the case was even brought up. That's besides the point, though. Also, I just want to apologize and thank my attorney for representing me, and that's all.
All right. I heard your attorney say that you have goals, educational, employment. Criminal convictions will get in the way of all of that. And if there are barriers to work, employment, and barriers to education, and barriers to housing, Your quality of life will be lower, and that will make it harder to be a parent. And you have all of those things on the horizon, Mr. Cochran. So I need you to understand, and I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure you heard it yesterday in the 17th Circuit Court. You've heard it from your attorney here. You probably heard it from your attorney in 17th Circuit. You'll hear it from me. The Holmes Youthful Trainee Act is a gift. Probation itself is a matter of grace. It gets longer or shorter depending upon how well you do on it. And if you do well on this charge will become a non-public record, as will the matter in 17th. But if you do not do well, they will be barriers, as I just mentioned. And I don't want that for you. You seem like a perfectly pleasant young man with a lot going for you moving forward. You just have to take control of how you act so that all of those things come to fruition. I will place you on probation with this court for a period of 8 months. This is pursuant to the Holmes Youthful Trainee Act. Provisions of your probation are as follows. You are not to violate the laws of any city, state, or federal government. You are not to leave the state without the court's permission. You're gonna make a, well, you know what? I'm gonna make this non-reporting as long as you are compliant with your 17th Circuit Court probation, with the exception that you must communicate with the probation department to get it set up for the 80 hours of work crew, which are a part of this probation. And I will say to you, sir, you might have found yourself in a lucky spot. I think that our work crew program is full, which means that it will be replaced with community service. There's a distinction in that the work crew work is decidedly more unpleasant than the community service work. And so if you cannot do work crew because it is full, you will do community service. You're not to be on the premises of Woodland Mall, and you are to notify your probation officer immediately of any change in address or employment status. And you're to pay fines and costs, which total $805. That is the final sentence of the court. If you disagree with this court's decision, you have 21 days to appeal it to the circuit court. Request for court-appointed attorney to assist you with an appeal must be made within 14 days. Sir, someone from probation will reach out to you regarding getting your work crew or community service set up. Once you get the referral, you have 2 business days to get registered for your community service. I know that Mr. Oberholzer said you were going to move shortly. Are you currently still residing at 3135 Wingate Drive, apartment C?
Yes, I am.
If and when you move, you need to contact the court and update your address because we won't know. You understand?
Okay. All right.
All right, but for now, that's where we will send correspondence to you. Do you have a good phone number?
616-337-1401.
All right, you're all set with me, sir. I'm going to move you into a breakout room right now with my cashier so you can make payment or payment arrangements.
All right. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck, Mr. Cochran. All right, Mr. Oberholzer, that does it for you, doesn't it?
It does. I believe so, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Dawson.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and how are you?
I am well. I have
Busy?
Mr.
Are you busy?
Well, you know, it hasn't been that busy of a day, believe it or not. We had a
That's
number of
good.
matters get dismissed this morning, and today was felony day. So,
Oh,
yeah, it was an unusual kind of occurrence. I have Mr. Kenneth Kirkland present in the courtroom,
okay.
and I believe one of your witnesses. What's your name, sir, again?
Terry Novakowski.
Terry Novakowski. All right, yeah. Nice to meet you. You work for the city of Kentwood? All right, I have not yet had the pleasure. Do you want an opportunity to try to resolve this with Mr. Kirkland first, Ms. Dawson?
Sure.
All right. Mr. Kirkland, before we call this case and give testimony and I make a ruling, I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk with our city attorney to see if it can be resolved any other way. So I'm going to have my clerk walk with you out to the conference room that is out here, or Kurt's in the conference room, so it'll have to be the prosecutor's office. And you'll have to join that Zoom room because it's not just joined yet. And then you'll be able to communicate with Ms. Dawson privately. And when you're done, you all will come back and let me know what's going to happen. So I have to wait until the court prosecutor, no, I don't. We have to get this moved into the court prosecutor's office.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm back, Your Honor.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, the court is calling the case of the City of Kentwood versus Kenneth Leon Kirkland, case number 21-29840N. Sir, Mr. Kirkland, you can sit there. That's fine. No, you can sit at the plaintiff's table. That's fine. All right, go ahead and have a seat. This matter was scheduled for a formal hearing on a civil infraction written for having junk machinery or motor parts or vehicles in a residential area, which is a violation of our nuisance ordinances. And this is alleged to be your third violation. So the fine is $250. So that is the allegation. I did give you the opportunity to speak with Ms. Dawson. Ms. Dawson, were we able to reach any kind of resolution?
No, the city is going to be asking for, how do I say, the ability to do more than what Mr. Kirkland, is willing to agree to.
All right. Well, sir, this is your day in court then, and you have the right to a day in court, and a hearing has been requested. So, Ms. Dawson, who would you like to call first?
I would like to call Code Enforcement Officer Terry Novakowski.
All right. And Mr. Novakowski is sitting at our defendant table currently. I don't know that, and let me check with my court reporter. Nancy, it's not going to be any easier if he moves into the jury box, correct? For you, for recording? No, I said it's not going to be any easier if I make him move.
It will be better if he's right there or there.
All right, since we're doing this bifurcated with somebody on Zoom and somebody in the courtroom, I always want to check to make sure what's the easiest thing. But let's see what I can do. I can actually zoom in on him for you, Ms. Dawson.
Okay. Perfect. Oh, a little, yeah.
Oh, too far. All right. Mr. Novakowski, can you raise your right hand, please? All right, and do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, please have a seat. Ms. Dawson, you can inquire.
Thank you. Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Terry Novakowski, N-O-V as in Victor, A-A-O-S-A-I.
And are you employed with the City of Kentwood?
Yes,
And what are some of your duties and responsibilities?
I am a code enforcement officer. It's my responsibility to respond to complaints from citizens regarding property issues, abandoned vehicles, overgrown grass, boarding issues.
And how long have you been with the city?
October of 16.
Okay. And are you familiar with the property located at 5962 Ridgebrook Avenue?
Yes, I am.
And is that in the City of Kentwood?
It is.
And who owns that property?
It is owned by DABJ Properties Limited Liability Corporation.
Okay. And do you know who is in primary control of that property?
David Batchelor.
So can you please tell the court how it is that you have cited Mr. Kirkland?
Mr. Kirkland resides at that residence. It's a duplex. And he works on vehicles in the driveway.
And is Mr. Kirkland with us today?
Yes.
Okay. And so can you elaborate for the court, what do you mean by the defendant working on vehicles?
Mayor, he has been in this residence for a few years, and every time we go by on regular patrol, every time we go by, we always see broken down vehicles, or we actually see them in the driveway.
repairing vehicles, their vehicle parts around the driveway and such. We receive a lot of complaints from citizens saying that the vehicles are in disrepair and they sit there for extended periods of time.
And have you had any conversations with Mr. Kirkland prior to issuing citations about these issues?
Actually, yes. I remember back in, I'll tell you here real quick, it started January 31st of 17. Myself and another code enforcement officer went to his residence. He invited us into his living area, and we actually had a conversation regarding the vehicles that he was working on. Told him that he had been previously warned about doing that. He hasn't stopped doing it. So at that time, there were 2 citations issued to him. Previous to that, there was a citation issued to him in September of 16. And we stopped on several occasions. I mean, we've had conversations with him. He's not a bad individual. He never confronts us and challenges us. He just said that he knows. He also knows he's not supposed to be doing it, he told us. But he continues to do it, and we continue to receive complaints. So the neighbors are frustrated, and we're just trying to get it stopped.
Okay, and when you say you've received complaints, can you just approximate for the court, like how many complaints you've received? Are we talking 2 complaints? Or are we talking 20 complaints?
I would say it's closer to 20.
Okay.
There's
Oh, go ahead.
There's an individual that lives in that neighborhood, that walks that neighborhood, and she has, she's not shy about telling us whenever she sees something.
Okay. And so did you issue a citation to the defendant?
I did.
For what violation?
This would be his 3rd violation. It was for illustrated nuisances. And I wrote that citation because section 3, I think, is Friends 2, talks about storage of auto parts outside. He was not working on the vehicles at the time. He was around. I stopped. I took photographs of what I observed. Came back to the office, wrote a citation, and then delivered it to him.
Okay. And when was the last time you inspected the defendant's property?
I'm guessing, I think it was last week we drove by and didn't actually stop. Just drove by. So the last time I was actually at the property and walking around the property was on or about the middle of April.
Okay. And what was the status of the property at that time?
The record was still there. He was actually working on, he said, his own vehicle at the time. He was changing tires. There were also what appeared to be a brake job that he was doing. And he said as long as the tires were off, he was also going to be checking the brakes. And so there were multiple parts on the ground when I stopped and talked to him in the middle of April. And that was after issuing of the ticket on April 8th.
Okay. And so have you been to the property more recently and I just want to know what the status of the property is more currently.
I can tell you last week when we drove by, there was still a inoperable vehicle parked in the driveway backed up against the drive.
Okay. And when you say inoperable, what was, like, were there no tires on the car or was it just not a registered vehicle?
Not a registered vehicle.
Okay. Did you take any photos of the property when you inspected it?
I did on the 8th.
Okay, Your Honor, if it's acceptable, I would like to introduce all of my exhibits all at once. I have 4 photos. I can share them on my screen, and I do believe Mr. Nowakowski has physical photos in his file that he could share with the defendant possibly to make this a little bit more easy.
Do you have copies that you can share with Mr. Kirkland?
I do not have copies. I have the originals, but we also attached them to our citation when we gave them the citation.
All right, but for his reference as we go through this hearing, I have copies of them in the file. Here's what I can do. I can ask my clerk to just make black and white copies.
And if it's acceptable, I will share my screen so that everyone in the courtroom can see them.
That's acceptable to me.
Okay, I just have to figure out how to do it. Every time it takes me a minute. You have disabled my participant screen sharing abilities.
Have.
Yeah, that's what it says. The host has. I assume you're the host today.
I am the host, and you know what that likely is because probably a setting that the clerks put in place when they first open up the Zoom room in the very beginning, probably because, like for example, at my investiture, someone shared screens that were inappropriate while we were live streaming on YouTube. So,
I completely understand why you don't want to allow people to share a screen. I get that.
all right, so here's what we can do. If you email them to the court, I can share them.
Sure. I can do that right now. All right, I have sent them in a PDF and it should be exhibit A through D.
All right, I have them here. I will share my screen. Ms. Dawson, you're not able to see that, right? We see it in the courtroom, but you still see me only.
No, I see them.
Oh, you see them?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I sure do.
All right, I have exhibits A, B, C, and D. Mr. Kirkland was provided black and white copies of the exhibits as well.
Thank you, Your Honor. So Mr. Novakowski, the photos that are on the screen, one that has been marked as the city's proposed exhibit A, did you take this photo?
I did.
Okay, and approximately when was the photo taken?
11:32 a.m. on March 22nd.
And is this photo a true and accurate depiction of the condition of the property on that day?
It is.
Okay.
Up on our screens.
Oh, it's not showing. Oh, okay. See, I knew somebody wasn't seeing it.
So I just wanted to come up and see what date I dated the pictures.
Okay. Do you see the date now as it is on the big screen? Do you see the date up there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, March 22nd, 11:32. I think that's what I said. That's correct.
Okay, and is this the only area in which on the property in which there are items like this, or is this just like a one, is this the only instance, I guess?
No, there's more.
Is like a lot more, or?
I think you'll see in the further pictures attached that there's additional items that are on the driveway. It's a 2-lane driveway, and he has vehicles parked. I think he had a tow truck parked. Yes.
Okay. So Your Honor, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down to exhibit B, so we can take a look at that. Mr. Novakowski, did you take this photo?
It's I did.
Okay, and is this a true and accurate depiction of the condition of the property?
Yes.
All right, and when was this photo taken?
March 22nd, 21 at 11:32 a.m.
Okay, and has this type of material been a common occurrence on the property?
Yes, it has.
All right, going to exhibit C. Did you take this photo, Mr. Novakowski?
I did.
And is this a true and accurate depiction of the condition of the property?
Yes.
It looks like there's multiple vehicles.
Correct.
Approximately how many vehicles were there that day?
I want to say 3 of them.
And were they all inoperable?
They appear to be inoperable. Some had tires on. This one was jacked up, as you can see on the back of a wrecker.
Okay. And I'm sorry, but going back to the last photo, it looked to me as though those materials had been there for some time. Is that correct, Mr. Novakowski?
That's correct. Obviously, you can see that the leaves are still tucked around.
Yeah. Okay. And then the final exhibit, Exhibit D. Did you take this photo?
Yeah.
And can you explain to the court what exactly is depicted in this photo?
It looks like 2 empty containers, or possibly both containers of antifreeze, along with a radiator, a vehicle radiator.
And are materials like this common throughout the property?
Within that driveway area, yes.
Okay. Those also look like they've been there for some time. Is that your understanding, or is that what it looked like to you?
Yes.
Okay, so is this photo a true and accurate depiction of the property?
Yes.
Okay. So since speaking to the defendant on numerous occasions, has he made any effort to bring the property into full compliance with the city ordinances?
We don't see it, no.
All right, so what is the city hoping to accomplish by having this hearing here today?
Your Honor, what we would like to do is, if we go by, we would like to be able to call a record to come and take any vehicles that are inoperable without giving Mr. Kirkland prior notice of it. In addition to that, if we see car parts laying within the property area, we would like to have the city abate that. And we would like to call somebody to come and pick the stuff up. Again, without an extended period of time giving prior notice.
So, Your Honor, just to sum that up, the city would like permanent and continued compliance with the ordinances. The city would like for Mr. Kirkland to cease and desist fixing or working on vehicles in this driveway. The city would like for him to clean up the property so there are no inoperable vehicles, there are no tire parts, no cans of antifreeze, and just overall improve the condition and the aesthetic of the property. And the city would also like the ability to enter onto the property for purposes of inspecting to ensure compliance with the ordinances. But then also, if the city does find that there is a violation, the ability to abate that violation without having to come back to court. And that would be part of the, continued compliance. And then last, the city urges the court to issue a fine as prescribed in the ordinances in the amount of $250. Also, pursuant to statute, the city is asking for costs of $500 in addition to 2 hours of my attorney's fees. The costs pursuant to statute 600.8727 shall not be more than $500. So the city would ask for $500 in costs and approximately $350 in attorney's fees.
All right. Looking at the technology here, or do the next thing. I'm wondering.
I have no idea what you're doing now. This looks very high tech.
Well, I'm trying to get the photos on the individual screens in front of the participants in the courtroom. But I'm not certain that I can do that. I'm trying. I'd like to see that happen. I might be able to do it this way. Let's do this. And then Mr. Kirkland, I am going to give you opportunity. Oh, shoot. All right, now it's on in front of you gentlemen, correct?
Correct.
All right,
Yeah.
but Miss Dawson cannot see it.
No, but that's okay. I have the photos on my computer.
Well,
Now I
Geez.
see them.
all right, now we're all looking at the same thing.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Kirkland, do you, because I'm giving you opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Novakowski, do you have any questions for him?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Actually, if we were just going through the pictures,
And I will, because you're representing yourself here, and I don't know if you've ever participated in a hearing like this before, I will say to you that after you've asked questions, I will swear you in and you can give a brief narrative of your own. So this is just to ask him questions about the truthfulness of what he testified to just now. All right, you may go ahead. You may ask him questions.
Okay. I don't know where to start here. Let's just start, let's jump into the last conversation that we had was, you stated was back in 17, year 17, is that correct?
No. The last conversation that you and I had, I can tell you was back on April 10th of this year.
April 10th of this year, okay, but April. So this was after we took the pictures?
Correct.
But okay, my question to you, sir, when you took this picture here on 3/22, the prior time of we both encountered each other or was stated was back in 17?
No. I think we issued a notice back in 19 to you 2 times.
Okay. Okay, so from 19 to 2, so it's basically maybe 2 years? 2 years, give or take? Before you had anything happen.
Can you make sure you're speaking to the microphone so that my court reporter
Hey,
can get it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
That's okay.
Okay, and also, well, it took 2 years before we had another encounter. That was a good part. On Exhibit D, you said it is a radiator there, correct? And those 2 containers, I could tell you right now that those containers came from a building. Actually, all of this is basically.
You can give me your explanation when you're under oath.
Okay. But did you physically take a picture inside those containers? Because you stated that it was antifreeze or whatnot in it.
I think the question was asked, can I describe that? And I just said it looked like antifreeze containers. I said that I wasn't sure if they were filled or not.
The court recollects he said empty or possibly filled.
Yes.
He indicated he did not know.
Possibly filled. Okay. No problem. And as far as the rotors there, the leaves you stated, it looked like they've been sitting there for a while.
Yes.
Okay. Would you come to think or believe that possibly with the way the driveway sits back, that it's kind of a wind tunnel back there? Would you kind of agree possibly?
I wouldn't be good at that. I can't tell whether the wind's blowing there or not. It seems like if it was, maybe the leaves would have blown away. I'm not sure.
Okay, and I guess my next question, operator vehicle, inoperable vehicle. Vehicle that is operable, but it's just not registered. That would be the case, correct? It would be considered inoperable.
It could fit under that classification as yes, the vehicle could have all working parts, tires on, engine works, everything like that, except it cannot legally run down the street. And that's what an inoperable vehicle is, something that doesn't have the capacity to move down public highway.
Okay, and if a person does have that kind of a vehicle in their possession, because they just wanted to just make it look good, just make it look good. What should a person do? What would be the best thing for them? Because with a car coverage work, would that be sufficient enough to have it placed in their driveway?
I'm not comfortable in telling you how to violate one of our ordinances.
Just ask it. Yeah, I'm not asking you to tell me how to violate or anything like that. What I'm asking is, what would be a sufficient way that a person, if they don't have, a vehicle is considered unoperable, that they can possibly get by with?
I think you're actually asking Mr. Novakowski for legal advice, which he
Oh.
cannot give you because he is not
Okay.
an attorney.
Well, it's not, well, okay, yes, ma'am. I believe that's gonna do it, man.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Dawson?
No, not for Mr. Novakowski. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other witnesses to call?
Nope.
All right. Mr. Kirkland, do you have any witnesses to call other than yourself?
I did not bring them in, but I didn't know it was gonna be quite like this, ma'am. Would you like for my?
Well, what I can do is if there's no objection from Ms. Dawson, I can swear you in and let you give a brief narrative of your position that counters Mr. Novakowski's as to what these materials are and whether or not they were at the premises.
Yeah.
All right, can you raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Tell me about these photos.
Well, these photos were taken, ma'am, I went through a tragic incident in my life. I don't know if anyone ever experienced it. I had a fire in a building I was working in, 2844 Eastern. And actually the one exhibit B, no, that's not B, that's C, with the tow truck right there. I actually got pictures in my phone of that same vehicle in my building that I was working out of. That's why there's so much of a gap, because I'm knowing the ordinance as the gentleman stated, and I've been working hard on doing that. And I had to remove those out of my building for the insurance people and everything was going on. And it's like, what am I to do? Doesn't have that much money and where am I going to store
When
it?
was that fire?
I want to say that fire was February.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am. Like I say, I do have pictures in my phone of that particular vehicle in it. And it took some time. I was the owner of my own tow truck and everything.
Is that tow truck belong to you?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That was a friend. He was trying to help me out. He didn't know how to work it too well, so he wanted me to be able to move it out of my building. It was in a tight spot like that.
So your testimony is that this particular situation is a temporary one
Yes,
because
ma'am.
you will be moving them into another building? Where will you take
Yes,
them?
ma'am. I just needed a little more time on with me dealing with insurance people, with the building people, with the owner of the building.
Is that a building that you own?
No, I was just renting it, man. Yes, that vehicle, I have taken care of that. And as far as the property go itself, if you pull on our block, our house stands out, not because of this or none of this, because you usually do not see any of this. I keep my yard well cut, really nice amongst the other neighbors that I have. As far as this other exhibit here with the radiator and 2 containers, if you look at it, I don't know how close or how, where your picture might be in a nice color there. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all around the board, but this is just those 2 trash cans right there. This is actually things that I had to just get out of the building that I was trying to move. The 2 gray ones, those are are empty trash cans, but the 2 empty containers there, it was just like, I just moved things over to the side till I clean up. Presently, the property is clean. The only thing in which I was stating was the one vehicle. He took he said the one that was inoperable. He took a picture of it. You would think it was inoperable now, but I kind of got in front of the buggy. Yeah, how would you say it? I put the buggy in front of the horse. I had some custom work done to that truck, and if you look at it, you would think that it's nothing. But the thing about it is, I have my door handle shaved, so I have no way of. I'm actually from a city of high crime, but I have no way of getting in my vehicle with the key and the doors. So with that being said, I had a crack in my window for a precaution because I haven't installed a backup system to pop the doors from another location.
I'm sorry, the crack in the window is a precaution in what way?
So I could reach in to unlock it to get in. The vehicle is movable, it is operable. I just do not have it licensed presently because out of all of this, I'm going through a divorce as well, which she's taken my keys, the titles to everything. So it's like just trying to make things, trying to buy a little time and make things better and get back on track to where I was. Man.
What kind of time do you need to get all of this out of there?
Actually, ma'am.
Actually, you told me that it was all clean now, so.
It is, except the one vehicle of mine, which I'm trying to get hold of a friend to see if he can just put it on his property until I get it in and ready to work on it again, or get it back at the body shop.
All right, Ms. Dawson, do you have any questions for Mr. Kirkland?
No, I do not, Your Honor. Actually, I do have one.
All right.
Mr. Kirkland, isn't it true that you have admitted that you violated the ordinance?
I admitted that I violated the ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, ma'am, I want to say that to admit that I violated it, I moved a few things from my other location to my residence until I found a suitable place for it.
My question was a yes or no question. So could you please answer yes or no? Have you violated the Kentwood City ordinance as it pertains to storing vehicle parts and other items in your yard?
On this particular day?
Ever?
Ever. Yes, ma'am, in the past I have.
Okay. And when you received the citation, do you admit that you violated the ordinance?
If I received the citation, I was given a citation. I don't believe that I was. Are you talking about this presently date from March the 22nd, or are you talking about previous, ma'am?
I'm talking about all the items that are pictured in these photos.
At the time, that was part of a move.
I understand that, but
Um,
the ordinance prohibits storage of vehicle parts in a yard.
okay.
Isn't it true you are storing vehicle parts and various items in your yard?
No, ma'am, not presently.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Dawson, I'll hear a closing statement and a summary again of the relief you're requesting.
Okay. Your Honor, the city is sympathetic to the defendant's situation as far as him being required to move items from a building and needing a location to store items related to his business, if that's what it is, or his hobby of fixing vehicles. However, you heard testimony that the defendant has been violating the city ordinances since 2015. Certainly, he has not been in a move situation since 2015. Further, you also heard testimony that the surrounding residents, the neighbors and whatnot, have been complaining about this particular property and the activities that are going on this property and the materials that are in the yard since 2015. So we're not here on the defendant's first violation. I mean, this is his third violation. He's been spoken to numerous times, as Officer Nowakowski pointed out. He seems like a nice guy, but he simply cannot do what it is he is doing on that property. And I would urge him to consider how other people must feel walking by that property, or listening to him repairing the vehicles, or smelling the grease and the oil and all the other items, things that come along with auto repair. That's why they're not allowed in residential areas. So today, the city is asking that the defendant be held to continued compliance with the ordinance. We just want him to clean up his yard. We want him to keep it cleaned up permanently so that we don't have to come back to court on this again. And so that the other neighbors and residents in the area are satisfied and are able to move forward and enjoy their homes and yards as well. So in the event that the defendant were to repeat these violations by storing additional items, the city would like permission to be able to enter onto the property, inspect it for compliance, and should they find a violation, to immediately abate that violation without notice to the defendant, and with costs of that abatement going back to the defendant. So he would in turn have to pay for the city to remove any of the vehicles and parts from the property. In addition to that, the city is asking for fines in the amount of $250, costs pursuant to statute of $500, and 2 hours of attorney's fees for approximately $350. I understand it's a tall order, but I do work for the city and the residents, and when I hear that the complaints are mounting to almost 20 for one property, that's bothersome.
Mr. Kirkland, do you have a final statement for the court?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Out of all of this, like I stated before, Ms. Dawson, yourself, or the enforcement officer, if you drive by that location, you're not going to smell oil. You're not going to smell where you're thinking. It doesn't even look like that. And actually, it's one of the better lawns and property over in that area now. I take real pride in that itself, and keeping up that. Yes, I had a misfortune in my life as far as with my building. I could say from dates I have tried to get better to where I'm not having as much dealing with the city as far as any complaints or anything like that. And I'm still striving to make that even better. But to try to issue me $1,000 in a pandemic time is really kind of hard. I haven't got any assistance nowhere from nothing from the beginning. I still haven't. And I just don't get it, and I don't understand how they, but I hope that the court will allow me to either a grace period to make sure to clean up, to get it up to code, or to bring it up to the standards, and go from there. And as far as the phone calls or the people in the neighborhood or your neighbors, is it any way we could get a petition? Do I need to get a petition? Not as far as to say that problem or anything. I don't know. Can we get those people that's making these complaints in court as well?
Well, if this matter is brought to court again and we have another formal hearing, you are welcome to use the subpoena powers of the court to compel witnesses to testify if you believe they'll testify on your behalf.
Okay. And the ones that's making the accusations, because right now, I'm at a point, is this my ex trying to do the deeds?
Well, no, this is Mr. Novakowski in the city of Kentwood. They are making the allegation, and it's because it's something that he witnessed, which is why you had the opportunity to ask him questions. That's called cross-examination.
Okay.
Anything further?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Dawson, we've had this conversation before about Kentwood City ordinances. Direct me to the provision to find the $500 cost citation, or you're asking for that under the Michigan compiled laws.
I am, Your Honor. And normally, if I were in the courtroom, I would give you a copy of it, but it's the Revised Judicature Act of 1961, Act 236 of 1961. So the statute number is 600.8727. And it sets forth the requirements and all the legal language surrounding municipal civil infractions, civil fines, costs, judicial system assessments, damages, and expenses.
And pursuant to subsection 3, if a defendant is ordered to pay a civil fine, under subsection 2, the judge or district court magistrate shall summarily tax and determine the cost of the action, which are not limited to the cost taxable in ordinary civil actions and may include all expenses, direct and indirect, to which the plaintiff has been put in connection with the municipal civil infraction up to the entry of judgment. Cost of not more than $500 shall be ordered.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Kirkman, the court does find that you are in violation of our city ordinances. I'm holding you responsible for this $250 fine because prior to this hearing, I did confirm that in our system, there were 2 prior notices, which makes this your 3rd offense. That fine is $250. I will tax it and I will apply a $500 cost on top of that fine. But I am not willing to allow the city to come in and take your personal property without notice yet. So for today, the court's order is you have 14 days to bring your property into compliance. If you have not brought it into compliance in 14 days, the city can go and abate anything that is there that was discussed today without notice. But moving forward, they will not be allowed to enter in and inspect and abate without notice. But if you are fined again, if another citation comes before the court, I will reconsider their request to enter onto your property, to inspect, and to remove nuisances without notice. Do you understand? All right. Anything further on this matter, Ms. Dawson?
As far as the fines and costs, what about the attorney's fees, Your Honor?
I am denying the request for attorney's fees.
Okay, and when are the fines and costs to be paid? Are those to be paid within 14 days to the court?
I will give you 21 days, sir. 21 days to pay your fines.
Would you like me to memorialize this in an order under the 7-day rule?
I think that would be excellent, Ms. Dawson.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.